And of course, I applied a lot of questionnaires. One was to assess the expert's opinion after the adapted instructions were put on the system. The other one was to assess the subject's exposure history and current health status. And the last one was to get the opinions and suggestions of the tested people. And as you can read, the inclusion criteria were so broad that nobody was excluded from the study. The test was administered to a very, very small sample. On the other hand, I tried to make the sample as heterogeneous as possible regarding age, years of schooling, and computer knowledge. Individuals were recruited at private practice, and environmental conditions for testing were adapted from the marvelous article from the Spanish Matamoros, Tuma, and Alvarez Gonzalez. And since I am a physician and not a psychologist, besides the approval of the informed consent, I had to submit my project to the National Professional Councils of Medicine and Psychology, which caused a 6-month delay on all the activities. And experts' opinions and suggestions were collected before and after the administration of the tests. So, as you can see, the sample was reasonably heterogeneous regarding age and computer knowledge. However, the great majority consisted on well-educated ones. So, 4 subjects aborted one test, which were finished after the repetition of the recorded instructions. Line orientation was aborted 3 times. All subjects who had reported visual loss on the questionnaire ended up aborting this test once, and one person has aborted visual span. Instructions were considered at least clear enough by all tested subjects. 3 persons considered them too long, and tested individuals made suggestions on 4 tests. Line orientation, a better explanation of what to do. Digit symbol, do I have to touch above or below? Visual span, do I have to touch as soon as it appears or wait until everything shows up? And the auditory verbal learning test on the delayed recognition, the first or the second list. On the finger tapping, the instructions had to be modified despite all my efforts, because the first version was considered to have a sexual connotation, distracting the individuals. We're talking about Brazil, so. And the letter K had to be removed because it is not taught at Brazilian schools as part of the Portuguese alphabet, despite being allowed for foreign words. Well, the battery was considerably well accepted, despite some people had considered the test too long, tiring, or boring. The great majority considered it cool, interesting, and funny. Well, I know I should have done empirical analysis of the data, but despite trying to learn all by myself, I still ignore how to make the psychometric theory work on SPSS. Anyway, the personal opinion of the tested people does also matter, and they say it's not too difficult nor too easy, so that's what I'm interested in. And despite being a source of controversy, it's tempting to say that computer-based tests could be wonderful for assessing large populations and for screening those who would need further evaluation with traditional assessments included altogether. I'm crying for help, not only because I need to be thoroughly trained, and this is what I want the most, but I would also need a continuous collaboration with interested and more experienced peers who could help me in the design and the implementation of studies, maybe even multicentric ones. Unfortunately, we don't have good research programs that are integrated with the routine evaluation of exposed populations that maybe could finally give an end to the many preventable cases of neurotoxic disorders that are currently not diagnosed and that could be easily diagnosed. And this is merely a pilot study. It has strong limitations, especially regarding the sample size and the predominance of well-educated people, which is totally not representative of the Brazilian population. It is needless to say that this study is totally not able to prove that NES3 could be used by all sorts of people, which may be, and in my opinion it is, in fact, and unfortunately, a very unrealistic goal. But next steps would include the administration of NES3 to a larger sample, fully representative of the Brazilian population, and the characterization of the psychometric properties of the adaptation. It would be also desirable a differential item functioning study. However, this was still not possible due to the ethical requirements of both countries, my personal time constraints, and the fact that NES3 primarily outputs the summary scores instead of the results of particular items. And retrieving such numbers from the program require further programming that I totally ignore. So what can we infer from this? Is that the administration of NES3 has an overall good acceptance by all tested individuals, at least on the sample, and that NES3 can be considered a good solution for academic research, not only in Brazil, but maybe in other developing countries, and that a larger and representative sample of the Brazilian population is necessary to evaluate the validity and reliability of NES3 as a useful clinical tool in this country. Well, I would like to thank all my co-authors, especially Professor Letts. Without his great amount of help, sacrificing himself in very adverse conditions, I wouldn't be here today. Thank you very much.